degrees. Wednesday will be another sunny day with that high temperature in the afternoon reaching 75 degrees and a calm wind around 5 miles per hour. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
It's back, and it's better than ever. The WSIC Community Yard Sale. Sell your stuff October 28th as we bring back the legendary Community Yard Sale. Visit WSICnews.com/yard sale. Get your spot today.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. We are here on the scoreboard, WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. And as I always say, we're worldwide, streaming to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website, WSICnews.com. It is a interesting day in the world of sports because what's going on right now is a lot of NHL games. A lot of them. So today is a day in hockey called Frozen Frenzy. It's a little interesting little thing they have going on where they have every single game today. Every single team is playing today. You have 32 teams, 16 games, one night. It starts today. Games are on ESPN, ESPN2, and if you have it, ESPN Plus. What a day to be a fan of hockey. But it's weird that they decided to do this today. Now, I know sometimes the schedule doesn't work out the way we want it to, but there's other more important things happening in sports right now. Like this Frozen Frenzy thing could have been done, I don't know, on a day where there isn't a Game 7 in Major League Baseball. Just, a thought that I have. We had a Game 7 last night in baseball. Was it a good one? No, it wasn't even close. Game was over by the fourth inning. And I thought maybe the Astros would stop the bleeding, but they didn't. The Texas Rangers advanced to the World Series. Tonight we have the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. Game number 7 from Philadelphia, as last time they played last night, well, the Diamondbacks had a pretty good game. And by pretty good, I mean they dominated. Only limiting the Phillies to 6 hits. They won by a score of 5-1, forcing a Game 7. And I got to say, the Diamondbacks did surprise me. I mean, they got out to that early lead, but they were able to not only hold on to it, but extend it in the 5th and 7th inning to really put it away and say, hey, we're winning this series. And after the second inning, when the Phillies came back and scored 1 to cut the deficit to 2, I really thought that they were going to continue to score and the Phillies were just going to come back and win that game. But it wasn't meant to be. Diamondbacks forced a Game 7, and in the other game in the American League last night, boy, oh boy, this one was an interesting game. Same situation, 3 runs scored by the away team in the early innings, this one in the first instead of the second. And then the Astros countered with a run on their own. But in the 4th inning, Texas put up 4 runs to go up 8-2 and pretty much run away with it from there. Final score, 11-4. Montgomery gets the win, and the Texas Rangers go to the World Series for the first time in 12 years. They have a chance to win their first ever World Series. And I don't know if anybody really remembers what happened to them the last time they were in the World Series. They were playing the St. Louis Cardinals, and that just happened to be a game in Game 6 when the Cardinals were down to their final strike 2 times. And lo and behold, David Freese, both times, well, not both times in that time, but one of the times they were down to the final strike, David Freese was able to come in clutch and tie the game, and then he hit the walk-off home run in extras, and you had that Joe Buck call where the ball went to center field, and all he said was, "We will see you tomorrow night," and then the rest is history with the Cardinals winning that Game 7. So Texas has had a chance before, and they have another chance starting on Friday. That's when the World Series will begin, it looks like. Games are scheduled. Game 1, at least, is scheduled for 8 o'clock on Friday. No matter what, though, it will be at the Rangers' home stadium, so we'll be playing in Arlington. No matter what, that's where Game 1 will take place. They took home field basically because they have a better record than not only the Astros, or I'm sorry, not only the Diamondbacks, but they had the same record as the Phillies, and they hold the tiebreaker over the Phillies. So Game 1 will be in Texas, but we still got a Game 7 to decide who Texas is going to be playing. And like I said, Diamondbacks, Phillies, that's going to be a great game. We're expecting, our starting pitchers are expected to be, let's see, Brandon Pfaadt. And we got on Philadelphia, it looks like Ranger Suarez. Interesting matchup there, so we'll see how that one turns out. But I expect for every arm to be on deck for these teams and for pretty much every arm to get used because it's a Game 7. I was surprised, but not too terribly surprised that we didn't see Verlander for the Astros because once it became 8-2, it was kind of out of reach and there was really no reason to put him in that game, especially off of not a lot of rest and a game where, they were out of it pretty early. It was unfortunate, but it gave people time to watch, other things going on like Monday Night Football and anything else you were keeping an eye on, hockey, stuff like that. So today is a very special day also because the NBA is back. We have basketball starting today. It is no longer the preseason, and with that, I have an announcement to make. On Thursday, we will be joined by a very special guest to talk about the NBA season, the upcoming NBA season, and a Hall of Fame career. Ralph Lawler, the retired Hall of Fame play-by-play broadcaster for the LA Clippers, will be joining us on Thursday. And if anybody knows anything about Ralph Lawler, he termed the coin bingo when somebody hit a three. So big three and you yell bingo instead of bang or some of the other ones, I don't know. ESPN always had some people who had their own little catchphrases. But Ralph Lawler will be joining us via phone call on Thursday, so that should be a good conversation. Make sure you tune in for that one. The Hornets do not play until tomorrow. Their first game is at home. They will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks. But tonight you have the LA Lakers taking on the NBA champion Denver Nuggets. And then for the nightcap, you'll have the Phoenix Suns taking on the Golden State Warriors. That game will be in Golden State. So the NBA is back, and I don't really know how excited people are. I know that basketball's kind of been hit or miss for a lot of people here in the past, but it's starting, and there's really nothing we can do about that, except for hope the Hornets have a much better season than they did last year. Who knows? Maybe we make the playoffs this year. I mean, there's very few teams that miss the playoffs in the NBA. It's almost like, hey, you're in the NBA, hey, you get to play in the playoffs. We'll see. But we'll make sure to keep you updated on the Hornets the same way we do with the Panthers, the Hurricanes. We'll be back here on WSIC. You're listening to the Scoreboard. When we come back, we're going to talk about some football because we did have NFL football last night. And not only the NFL, we're going to go back to the weekend. We're going to chat a little bit about college football. So stay with me through the break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Keep it right here. There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way from the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The WSIC yard sale is this weekend. Come by the radio station and enjoy a day of fun. The world-famous Pat Shannon will be hosting a special edition of the Home Ad Show. Live music, food trucks, bouncy houses, Selling starts at 6 a.m. this Saturday. Yard sale spots are free. The WSIC Yard Sale, 1117 Radio Road in Statesville. Saturday from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. Pumpkin picking at Kerrigan Farms. Experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms by booking your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. kerriganfarms.com for a pumpkin picking adventure. Santa is coming to town. Schedule your time to take pictures with Santa at Birkdale Village. Spots are limited and must be scheduled in advance. Santa will be at Birkdale between November 19th and Christmas Eve. Appointments include time with Santa and 8 digital images from a professional photographer. For more info and to schedule your time with Santa, visit birkdalevillage.com. Want to enjoy a night of magic? Eric Jones, a worldwide award-winning magician, is coming to Kane Center for the Arts this Saturday. Buy your tickets before they sell out. kanearts.org. Eric Jones, the Magician, this Saturday. Doors open at 7 p.m. kanearts.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on Events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays now through November 19th. Save your dates. Don't miss the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, we'll have mostly clear skies. That overnight low is going to be getting down pretty chilly again. We're looking around 41 degrees. Wednesday will be another sunny day with that high temperature in the afternoon reaching 75 degrees and a calm wind around 5 miles per hour. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
Folks, you know Randy Marion sells vehicles the King of Price way, but did you know our service department? We service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive. Whatever the season is, Randy Marion service departments have you covered. Come see us today because, folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's The Scoreboard on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, we are back. We're going to cut right to it because I need to make a little bit of, not a correction, but I got to explain something here. I don't think I did a good enough job explaining what the frozen frenzy in the NHL is, honestly, because it is cool. They're doing something different, which is good. You know, hockey of all the major sports needs to figure out something a little bit different to get some hype. So here's what the frozen frenzy is. I already mentioned all 32 teams are playing tonight, 16 games. They're all starting, well, most of them are starting at completely different times. They all have staggered starts, and in addition to the triple header that'll be on ESPN itself, the network is going to have whip-around coverage from 7 to 8 on ESPN Plus, and then continue on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. until 1 o'clock. And to top it all off, John Buccigross is going to be the one hosting this event. The announcement that he made is that there's going to be two commercial breaks. I'm sorry, 3 commercial breaks. They're 2 minutes each. And they're broadcasting until 1 a.m. So if you like hockey, from 7 to 1 a.m., Frozen Frenzy is for you. They're trying to do like a red zone type thing, like the NFL red zone, where you have Hansen doing all the games, showing you different games going on, double box, triple box, the quad box. If you watch red zone, you know what all of that stuff is. That's what the NHL is trying to do with ESPN right now. I like it. I think it's a good idea because one thing that I've always had a problem with about hockey is you have pretty much set start times like football, but it's different because you don't have one day where all these games are on where you can have the one show. Games would usually start, the East Coast at 7 o'clock, the Central Time at 8 o'clock, so on and so forth. But now they're staggering every game, which means the first game is going to be at intermission while the second game is still being played, and then so on and so forth. But that's good. That's what you want, is a little bit of variety here, because there's nothing worse than watching the 7 o'clock game start in hockey and then say, all right, the game I'm watching is at intermission. The 8 o'clock games haven't started yet. Let's see who else is on. And literally everybody else is at intermission. It's the worst. So this is a cool little monkey wrench that they're throwing into the NHL coverage this year. I think it's going to be successful, and I really hope it's successful, because I would think it would be pretty cool to have like a once a week, all 32 teams play, and you have John Buccigross doing the whip around coverage. I think that would be a big hit and a great way to grow the game, not only for ESPN, but I mean, the NHL needs it. They've constantly had the lowest salaries of all the four major sports, and that's because there's not a lot of TV deal money in there. So we'll see how it goes. I really think it's going to be a big success tonight. That coverage starts at 7 o'clock, like I said, on ESPN. The first hour is on ESPN Plus, but then after that, if you only have like cable and you have ESPN2, go to ESPN2, you'll catch that. Or you can watch Game 7 in the MLB, which also starts at 8 o'clock tonight, that being the Diamondbacks at the Phillies. Just a reminder. All right, I told you we would get to the NFL, so let's go ahead and do that now. Last night was a very surprising game. Very surprising. The San Francisco 49ers, after losing to the Browns last week, come back to Monday Night Football, and is lay an egg the correct term that I want to use here? Because they didn't look good. They didn't look like San Francisco normally looks. Now, granted, they have some banged up players, and Deebo Samuel wasn't playing. He's hurt. But Brock Purdy did not look like Brock Purdy. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He usually is pretty good at not turning the ball over. He's like a comparison player to him in terms of not turning the ball over. I'd say is Tyrod Taylor, who's one of the best at not turning the ball over. Not a great quarterback, but he doesn't turn the ball over. There's this thing in the NFL where they say he's not going to win you the game, but he's also not going to lose you the game. I feel like that's Brock Purdy in a nutshell, but he did kind of have a pretty poor game here on Monday. 1 interception, or 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 21 of 30. So he had an okay game, but they just weren't able to put up the points. And for the Vikings, man, this may have saved their season. Like, seriously. They're now sitting at 3-4. And when you look at the standings and the NFC conference standings, they're still kind of in the hunt. They're right in the middle of the pack. There's a lot of teams hovering at the 3-4 win mark. So the Vikings really needed that win. 49ers, not so much. But now you look at the picture that's looming in the NFC here. And you have the Eagles, who showed on Sunday night why they are still considered one of the best teams in the NFC. But then you have the Lions and the 49ers sitting at 4-2. Now, I didn't expect the 49ers to be at 5-2. Excuse me. So are the 49ers really still in that top echelon of NFC teams? I mean, we're talking back-to-back weeks now of losses to the Browns and the Vikings. Not exactly the most spectacular teams to lose to. It's not like they lost to, well, in the conference, the Lions or the Eagles or even to a lesser extent the Cowboys. But they beat the Cowboys, obviously. It's not like they lost to those teams. They lost to teams who, well, one of them didn't make the playoffs. The other one We don't want to talk about their playoff appearance last year because if there are any Vikings fans listening to the show, I don't want to add more depression to what they've already experienced in the many years of the Vikings franchise. But, Kirk Cousins, 4th and 8. Why don't we throw a check down and see what happens? I'm sorry, I had to. So are the 49ers really that good right now? And I'm going to say yes. I do think that they are still a top-tier team. I think they need to get healthy. I think Brock Purdy maybe needs to take a step back. Some of the throws he made last night were questionable. And that final interception that he threw on the drive where they were trying to win the game, very questionable. It probably shouldn't have been thrown because I don't think there was any way, even if it was placed perfectly, I don't think there was any way that he was getting the ball to his receiver there. The defender was just right in the middle. He was right there. He had nowhere to go with the ball. So the Vikings end up coming away with the win by a really interesting final score. I mean, it's one of the weirder ones of the year, I guess, 22-17. And looking into the next couple of games for these teams, well, the 49ers, they get a tough game again as they have the Bengals coming into town. Now, the Bengals, they're also one of those teams that kind of needs to win now and save their season because they're sitting at 3-3. And then on the other side of that coin, you have the Vikings at 3-4 who still have some work to do to get into that playoff picture. But they have a game in Green Bay next week. That one's going to be at 1 o'clock. So no special game there and a 4 o'clock game for the 49ers. So neither of these teams will be featured on primetime this weekend, this coming weekend, I should say. The primetime games this coming weekend are, let's judge for ourselves. So on Thursday, you have the Buccaneers and the Bills. And this is a weird stat. I don't know if I mentioned this on Monday, but the Buffalo Bills have one more game this season that is scheduled to start at 1 o'clock. They're going to be on primetime 3 weeks in a row. Then they play a couple of Game of the Week 425 games. And then they have a couple of Saturday games. And the last game of the season is not set in stone yet. It is against the Dolphins. It could be a really great game. So that one probably won't be at 1 o'clock. But I just thought that was interesting. We're only in week 7. We're going to week 8 on Thursday. And the Bills are not going to have but one more 1 o'clock game. So you're going to be watching a lot of Buffalo Bills football, I guess. And I mean, it's not the worst team to put on primetime all the time. It's better than what they were doing to us with the Giants earlier in the year, who somehow got their second win of the year. Besides the point, I just want to real quick go through this. That way I'm not joking. Like, this is what the Bills have coming up. Thursday at 8:15. Sunday at 8:20. Monday at 8:15. Sunday at 4:25. Sunday at 4:25. They have their bye week. Then they go to Kansas City and Dallas, both 4:25. And then a Saturday night against the Chargers. Week 17, 1 o'clock on Sunday against the Patriots. And then in Miami, still to be determined. I just thought that was really interesting. You're going to be seeing a lot of Bills football. Who knows? Maybe they make a run and go to the Super Bowl. It could happen. All right, we are just getting started here. We got 2 more segments to go, so stay with me through the break. We got a lot more going on here on the Scoreboard. WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. We're back after this.
More of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg is coming up on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Make your work easier with Eagle Rentals of Troutman and Statesville. Eagle Rentals has generators, heaters, fans, painting equipment, floor care equipment, pressure washers, lighting equipment, and lawn care equipment. Plus, Eagle Rentals has construction equipment like forklifts, bobcat loaders, backhoes, excavators, and more. Reserve online at eaglerentals.com. That's eaglerentals.com.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, we'll have mostly clear skies. That overnight low is going to be getting down pretty chilly again. We're looking around 41 degrees. Wednesday will be another sunny day with that high temperature in the afternoon reaching 75 degrees and a calm wind around 5 miles per hour. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
Black Powder Coffee is celebrating their 10th anniversary with a medium dark roast blend of Indonesian and South American coffee beans. Enjoy the full-bodied natural flavor notes of chocolate with a bright finish. Get Black Powder Coffee's new anniversary blend today at Black Powder Coffee, 261 Rolling Hill Road, Mooresville, or participating retailers everywhere. Black Powder Coffee.
It's back, and it's better than ever. The WSIC Community Yard Sale. Sell your stuff October 28th as we bring back the legendary Community Yard Sale. Visit WSICnews.com/yard sale. Get your spot today.
The Ugly Antenna has now become a household name in this area. The Ugly Antenna allows those without a streaming provider to receive up to 50 channels absolutely free of charge, including Fox 46.1. The Ugly Antenna is small and connects directly to your TV. Get the Ugly Antenna for just $40. Call 704-682-1755. That's 704-682-1755 for the Ugly Antenna.
The world's news.
Taiwan is a successful democracy, a thriving economy, and a global leader in health and science.
When you need it.
I was surprised there were no facts in there. I mean, normally in an indictment you have alleged facts, so they said that this was a false business record entry to each abet another crime. We're not saying what the other crime was.
This is WSIC.
I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. It is up to the Biden administration to choose whether or not to enforce such a ruling.
WSIC. News, talk, now.
For 42 years, Johnson's Parts and Supply has been your Auto Value Auto Parts store. When you need auto parts, think Johnson's Parts and Supply, your Auto Value Auto Parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
What can Brown do for Bryce? I'm Anish Shroff with this Panthers update.
As the official ticket marketplace of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Panthers at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you have the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Panthers.
The Panthers invested a lot in rookie quarterback Bryce Young. They spent considerable capital to move up to draft Young and also hired a staff to develop a young quarterback. 6 games into Young's rookie season, they'll have a new play caller. Offensive coordinator Thomas Brown takes over that role, and he looks forward to furthering his dynamic with the rookie quarterback who impressed Brown well before Bryce Young was even a Panther.
You know, I'm excited for the opportunity to continue to work with him. I mean, like I've said from day one, even in my interview, which, you know, hopefully I'm good to be able to share this, but one of my last stops was kind of meeting with Scott and Dan and kind of talk about how I saw the roster, but also my evaluation of this draft class of quarterbacks. And I told Bryce this yesterday when we had a kind of a sit-down meeting with us one-on-one to just talk about moving forward, my expectations. I mentioned him as being the number 1 guy on the board then, just thinking about from the standpoint of what I saw from him on tape and kind of just continue to grow from there once you had an opportunity to get on the road and meet with them and interview them and obviously watching kind of throw from a pro day standpoint. But my role from a standpoint of being a coordinator is to elevate all of our players, to put them in the best spot to be successful. It obviously includes Bryce as well.
Sunday's game showcases the top 2 picks in the draft. Bryce Young went first overall. Houston took C.J. Stroud at number 2. I'm Anish Shroff on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network, presented by Morris Jenkins.
Now, more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, everyone. Let's get back to it here on the Scoreboard. WSIC 105.9 100.7 FM. And always video to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, the website WSICnews.com. And you can call in to be a part of the program. I know I kind of forgot to read the phone number and let you guys know to call in. 704-873-1400. A little bit of news before we get into everything else going on in the world of sports. This one out of the NBA. Two-time NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. I still don't think I'm saying that right. It's been years now, and I cannot figure that one out. But he signed a new extension. 3-year contract, $168 million for 3 years. I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air because, I'm not tall enough to make that much money in the NBA. All right? He's 6'10". I'm 5'10". It's not fair. I'm short. So anyway, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he signs an extension right after the Bucks trade for Dame Lillard out of Portland. So making him happy not only by getting him another sidekick, but making him one of the highest paid players in the NBA. And when you look at the highest paid NHL players, it's nowhere close. It isn't. And we talked about that. I think the biggest NBA contracts or NHL contracts are 7 years, $89 million or somewhere around there to where it's a little bit over 10, 11, 12 million a year. Giannis is making $60 million a year. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. So that's what Milwaukee gets for Antetokounmpo, and one of the favorites for the NBA championship this year. Also, out of the NFL, wide receiver Marvin Jones Jr. is stepping away from the Detroit Lions to take care of a personal family matter. No real information on that. He didn't travel with the team to play against Baltimore, so we don't really know what's going on. And Dan Campbell, he's not letting us know either. He said, all I can tell you is it's a personal issue. I wouldn't expect Dan Campbell to throw his player under the bus like that and tell the world what's going on. But we wish the best, we do, to Marvin Jones Jr., hoping that it's nothing too terribly serious, but it's serious enough for him to miss some time. So wishing him the best. All right, let's get into some NCAA football from the weekend. I know it happened over the weekend, and we're talking about it on a Tuesday. Look, Monday went by fast. There was a lot going on. So let's talk about some of the games that happened last weekend. Michigan, the number 2 seed, took down Michigan State 49-0, not even close. And I did mention on Friday that Michigan was being investigated for cheating. Really no update on that. Ohio State took down Penn State late in the game by a score of 20-12. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the difference maker. He put it to 2 possessions before Penn State came down and cut it to that 8-point deficit. So Ohio State, out of those 2 teams, looks like the one that's probably going to make the college football playoffs, and that is if they keep winning. Because when you look at the rankings now and you think about how that loss by Penn State affects them, well, they've now dropped to 10th. 10th isn't the worst, but they have a lot of undefeated teams in front of them, and they also have 1-loss teams in front of them now. So Texas, Oregon, and Alabama all in front of Penn State. So you would assume unless something crazy happens, that those 3 teams ahead of Penn State, if everybody keeps winning, would stay ahead of Penn State. But you never know. Also, over the weekend, this one probably the biggest game and the biggest storyline right now, USC and Caleb Williams, as they lose their second game of the year, and the playoffs are out of the question for them now. There's absolutely no way that they make the playoffs, but they lose to Utah by a score of 34-32. Caleb Williams, he kind of looked pedestrian again. Not one of his better performances. Also, Air Force continues to win. They are now the 19 seed. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving it. Keep going, Air Force. Maybe they'll be in the top 10 before the year ends. Who knows? Give me chaos. That's the best part about college football. Some other surprises. North Carolina fell. Yes, North Carolina fell to unranked Virginia by a score of 31-27. Drake May threw an interception late in that game to seal the game for Virginia. And Virginia going into that one, they weren't the best team in the world by any stretch of the imagination. They were sitting at 2-5. And they go into North Carolina and they take down the Tar Heels. Drake May had an okay game, but that interception late really, it sealed the deal, actually, for Virginia. Alabama took down number 17, Tennessee. So they continue to roll after, no pun intended, they continue to roll after a tough start to the season where they lost and then almost lost a second game immediately. So they are now rolling pretty well. They're in the top 10 in the rankings. LSU beat Army. Missouri beat South Carolina. And then you have Tulane beating North Texas. Iowa falling to Minnesota by a score of 12-10. Like, oh my goodness. And UCLA taking down Stanford. The biggest one, the most important one, is it the most important? I don't know if it's the most important one, but another important one. There were a lot of really good college football games over the weekend. Florida State, number 4. They took down hometown Duke Blue Devils by a score of 38-20. Duke shut out in the second half of that game after putting up 10 in the first, 10 in the second. You know, if they would have just kept doing that, they would have won by a score of 40-38. I don't know. Why couldn't they keep doing that? I know. I'm joking. I kid. But that's the world of college football from the weekend. Some ranking updates real quick. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida. Those are your top 4. Then behind them, we have Washington, Oklahoma, Texas, Oregon, Alabama, and as we talked about, Penn State. Looking ahead to next week, well, this coming weekend, I should say, more good games on. You have Oregon taking on Utah as the Pac-12 continues to be the best conference in college football somehow. Number 20, Duke taking on 18, Louisville. That'll be a very good game. Air Force has Colorado State. We're going to continue to talk about Air Force as they randomly keep winning their games. Colorado takes on UCLA. North Carolina takes on Georgia Tech. And Oregon State has Arizona. Some of the games for this weekend. So it should be a decent slate of college football games. Not the best, not the most exciting weekend we could ask for, but it's always exciting. I mean, it's college football. There's going to be upsets. There's going to be chaos. Stay tuned. We got one more segment. One more. We're almost done. I know. It goes by so fast. You're listening to The Scoreboard here on WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this.
More of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg is coming up on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. The WSIC yard sale is this weekend. Come by the radio station and enjoy a day of fun. The world-famous Pat Shannon will be hosting a special edition of the Home Ad Show. Live music, food trucks, bouncy houses. Selling starts at 6 a.m. this Saturday. Yard sale spots are free. The WSIC yard sale, 1117 Radio Road in Statesville. Saturday from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. Pumpkin picking at Kerrigan Farms. Experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms by booking your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. kerriganfarms.com for a pumpkin picking adventure. Santa is coming to town. Schedule your time to take pictures with Santa at Birkdale Village. Spots are limited and must be scheduled in advance. Santa will be at Birkdale between November 19th and Christmas Eve. Appointments include time with Santa and 8 digital images from a professional photographer. For more info and to schedule your time with Santa, visit birkdalevillage.com. Want to enjoy a night of magic? Eric Jones, a worldwide award-winning magician, is coming to Kane Center for the Arts this Saturday. Buy your tickets before they sell out. kanearts.org. Eric Jones, the magician, this Saturday. Doors open at 7 p.m. kanearts.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays now through November 19th. Eat, drink, be merry at the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, we'll have mostly clear skies. That overnight low is going to be getting down pretty chilly again. We're looking around 41 degrees. Wednesday will be another sunny day with that high temperature in the afternoon reaching 75 degrees and a calm wind around 5 miles per hour. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
Fall is here, and Little Shavers has the supplies you need. Wheat straw, pine needle, grass seed, pelletized line, landscape edging, and railroad cross ties. Got a deck that needs staining? Little Shavers has PPG paints and stains at prices you can afford. Fall is a great time to replace your furnace filters at Little Shavers. Get the products you need at reasonable prices from Little Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Road in Statesville.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's The Scoreboard on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, final segment here on The Scoreboard. If you want to call in, you can. Call 704-873-1400 or 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. We're going to end the day talking about NASCAR. We always try to hit NASCAR, and I have some things that I want to play, some sound from some drivers. So we'll hear from Hamlin, Byron, and Bell throughout the week. Might play one or two today. But here's how things shake down after Homestead. Christopher Bell got the win. He advances to the Final Four, the Championship Four, whatever you want to call it. So does Kyle Larson after his win at Las Vegas. William Byron and Ryan Blaney are the other two drivers currently in the top four. And then behind that, we have Tyler Reddick, 10 points out. Martin Truex Jr., 17 points out. Denny Hamlin, also 17 points out. And number 17, Chris Buescher, 43 points out. Chris Buescher is in a must-win situation. There's really no logical way that he can point his way in. It's possible. Is it likely? Absolutely not. I'm not going to say it's impossible because we've seen crazier things happen. But Buescher's going to need a win. Hamlin and Truex are teetering right on the edge of we need a win or we can point our way in. And really, it's going to come down to who scores stage points. Not even after stage 2. I don't want to worry about that. I'm worried about stage 1 because I want to know, after that first stage, did we gain or did we lose? If we lost points, it's a bigger hole that we're going to have to come out of. I just don't see it happening for either of those guys if they fall farther into a hole. So if they do gain points in those first couple of stages, or in the first stage specifically, then they continue to try to accumulate more points in stage 2 instead of doing something where, let's say a caution comes out with like 10, 15 to go on the stage. You're going to get a couple of laps of racing left. Maybe they pit before that. That way when, it cycles around to them as the leaders. I'm just trying to think what is the most logical way that they're going to attack this race. And I think they're going to know how they're going to have to attack the race after stage number 1. But if you remember last year, nothing important happened. There was absolutely nothing of note that happened at Martinsville last year. Last year, Christopher Bell took home the win and he punched his ticket to the Final Four. But not only that, we had one of the most outrageous and amazing at the same time moves ever pulled off on a NASCAR track, where Ross Chastain, needing 2 points to go to the championship 4, in turns 3 and 4 on lap number 500, put the car up against the wall, did not lift, rode the wall all the way around 3 and 4, and passed 5 cars to make the play, to make the championship 4. It was insane. And one of the drivers that was involved in that was Denny Hamlin, as Denny Hamlin was the driver +2 that Ross Chastain knocked out. Well, here's Hamlin on the memories that he has from the finish of last year's race.
As far as I could remember, we were dominating the race, and then we had a bad pit stop. Went back to 7th or 8th, and he said we got to get X amount of spots and very few laps. And so I was just trying to get every spot I could. And I remember him saying, we were even, we're +1, we're now +2. And I just remember him saying, we're +2, you're good, down the backstretch, because I was battling Brad, I believe it was, for one more position. And at that point, I'm thinking 2 cars, I didn't need to push the envelope anymore. So, yeah, ended up minus something. Not really sure. But, all I remember is just, him being right there beside me. So I wasn't sure how it happened.
He sounds so upset thinking back to that race. And I'm not laughing at Denny Hamlin. I'm just laughing at the fact, thinking, what was really going through his mind the moment he saw Ross Chastain go by him on the outside. Because he was nowhere close to him. Chastain was 4 cars back. He needed 2 spots to make the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, as you come out of 4, the guy that you're racing is somehow right next to you. It made no logical sense until people went back, especially the drivers, when they went back and looked at it. They were like, oh, that's how he got those points. And the guys around him, man, you know what I'm going to do is during the week, I'm going to cut up some audio of radio chatter from that race and from that move specifically, because some of the reactions of the drivers and the crew, it's absolutely hilarious. You had Chase Elliott's spotter. He was in the middle of saying, you're clear by, and then he goes, what in the world? It's just hilarious. I'm going to cut up some of those videos. I'll have some of that audio for you in the coming days. I want to play it because it's comical. It's funny because you imagine standing on top of the spotter stand and you're like, all right, everything's normal. And then all of a sudden you see a car whipping around the fence. It didn't look real. When you look at videos of it, when you watch the replay of it, it doesn't look real. He's going so fast along that. He was pulling 6 Gs or something crazy like that. It doesn't look like it's real. But somehow he made it to the playoffs and made it to that championship race. And, well, he came up a couple of spots short. But, man, that was something. Christopher Bell, like I said, he won at Homestead. He doesn't have to worry about being stressed out at Martinsville and trying to go win at Martinsville, which he did do last year. But here's how he will approach Martinsville now that he has that win in his pocket.
Those guys have a lot more to race for than what I do now going into Martinsville. So the mentality is completely different for them than it is for me. And you just have to be aware of that. And, it being able to focus on just winning the race and not having to score points definitely has its benefits. And that's where we're at. So I think that, we should be really competitive next week. Martinsville is obviously a good track for me. And I look forward to going there and having a week with no pressure.
And that is the key. He has no pressure. Him and Kyle Larson, the two guys that have absolutely no pressure on them going into this weekend. William Byron has minimal pressure, 30 points to the good. It's possible to lose that, but it would take something like him crashing out early for that to happen. And I just don't know if I see that happening. So that race will be taking place Sunday. Make sure you tune into that one. It's gonna be a good one. And the time that one starts, let's see here. That one is a 2:00 race start. So be in the middle of football, the way it always is. And the Panthers will be playing again this weekend. But I might be paying a little bit more attention to Martinsville, just because, number one, it's Martinsville. And number two, well, it's the last race to see who makes the championship 4. It's a little more juicy than week 7 of the NFL regular season, in my opinion. I know there's other people out there that are going to say the NFL trumps all. I don't agree with that. I think other sports have their moments. And you're having moments right now. The MLS, Charlotte FC on Wednesday. I'm going to remind you, you will be able to listen to that game right here on WSIC immediately following the scoreboard. The pregame for that show begins at 7, kickoff around 7:30, and then by the end of it, we'll know what's going on with Charlotte FC. They made the playoffs for the first time ever. Pretty awesome, in my opinion. They barely made it, but they made it, and all you want is a seat at the table, because anything can happen in the playoffs. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the NASCAR talk here. Kind of got sidetracked. So as I was talking about William Byron, it's going to be one of those races where he's going to just try to minimize his damages and try not to get caught up in anything too catastrophic. But one way to do that is to qualify well. And here is what Byron thinks about how important it's going to be to qualify well.
As unimportant as it might be at Homestead, it's going to be very important at Martinsville. So not only for pit selection, but obviously the track position, being what it is there and how important that is. So we'll put focus into it. We already did going there in the spring. We already put a lot of emphasis on trying to qualify well there, and I think we qualified 7th. So we know what we need to do there. It's a tough place to get grip and try to maximize everything there. But yeah, I think, we're capable, and I've done so much short track racing over the last couple of years that I really understand what the car needs to feel like and how to qualify well. So I don't really worry about that. It's just trying to put it all together for 2 laps, which is nice. You have 2 laps to do it there instead of 1.
Yeah, and one of the reasons track position is so important at Martinsville is because the leaders catch the end of the field fast. It's only a half-mile track. Not a lot of room to mess up and not go a lap down. You can't pit under green. No. You'll be like 2-3 laps down. All right, tomorrow, Wednesday, we will preview some Charlotte FC, talk about what's going on in the world of sports the way we always do. Thanks for rocking with me yet again today. My name is Joe Berg here on the Scoreboard, WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, peace out, everyone.